Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on understanding your communications costs. So as always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to watch after the fact. If you have any questions, they are always more than welcome. These webinars are really for you. So please, within your GoToWebinar section, there's a place to ask questions. Ask them there. We're going to answer them live if we can, and otherwise, we're just going to get back to you after the webinar. My name's Jason Nadeau. I'm the product manager for ShareWeb's various voice solutions like Cloud PBX and Managed Teams Voice and our unified communications. And I'm joined today with James Welburn, our technical solutions advisor.
Yeah, welcome. Hey Jason. Yeah, long time no see.
Long time, yeah. So today
we're lucky enough to get to work quite closely together, and yeah, we really just want to take a few minutes there just to run through sort of the new reality. Obviously, there's a lot going on outside. The work environments have changed. We're not going to go too much into it, as I'm sure we're all quite well aware. But just to kind of raise a little bit of awareness of what it could mean for you and your customers. And here you can kind of see the outline of what we're going to run through with you today. So really just looking at the situation, how work was, kind of the era that we're in now, this sort of hybrid, are we returning, are we not? And then most importantly, and really the overall goal for the webinar here was to really help you identify any areas for where there's any room for improvement when it comes to optimizing communication costs.
So starting off, pretty much how things were before the new normal. So this is before we were all sent home, before the pandemic. Typically, you know, we had our offices, everyone was working at the office, and maybe 30% of the employees that were, you know, part-time working remotely. At the time, we were taking business trips, we were going to visit our customers on site in their offices, or they would come and visit us for trainings, for discussions, for meetings. We would be joining into the big conferences, you know, channel partners and whatnot to go meet some of our colleagues. You know, regularly just walking over to someone else within your office or scheduling a conference within the office. I mean, I used to have 5 or 6 of these every single day within our, you know, in-room meetings, and of course, training together as a group. It's funny, we're saying it now, and it's almost like, how did we do this? It seems like it
feels boring.
It's already not the way it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that really obviously was sort of the way to do things, the way it's always been. And now we're in this sort of new era, right? Where we're at ShareWeb here, we have 4 offices. They're starting to reopen now. However, for the last 4 months, all of us are working from home. So we're looking at 900 plus employees that were all asked to work from their residences or anywhere with a decent connection. To be able to conduct the same things, right? So we're still going to have the same business meetings. We still attend conferences. We're even going to be hosting our own as well. It'll most likely be virtual this year, and right up to trainings as well. So all of this sort of interaction is still ongoing. Obviously, as we're all here, but it's definitely not what it was. So we just want to really just kind of highlight the fact a little bit. And just show some of the stats that we were with the poll sort of from here and there, including Microsoft as well. So what we are seeing is that 48% of employees are expected to continue working full time. I know at ShareWeb we have a pretty flexible policy here where there's no one who's absolutely mandated to return to the office. As long as we can stay productive, we can stay informed. Working from home for most of us is the new norm. Sorry to have to say that.
And something else that we're seeing a lot is a lot of companies are unfortunately kind of replacing some of their full-time employees with contract workers. You know, having people come in for specific jobs just for the sake of optimizing their own internal costs.
Yeah, that's it. It still has to.
One of the big changes for me was actually the use of video. So, and before the change to ShareWeb, you know, I'm constantly having conference calls with partners, with suppliers, with vendors, whatnot. But video wasn't really a thing. And now that we're kind of been all forced apart, you know, that right away within my first week, I definitely felt a bit of a disconnect with my team, and being able to now have video calling is a necessity for me now. I would not be able to operate without the video, and that's a huge change in the way that people have been working, right? And this is a place where UC now shines, right? Because you're able to combine your video platform and your phone system together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big thing. I definitely, I second that motion there. Without doing video calls, again, I work with you quite closely. If it was just audio and just looking at icons for the rest of my career, it would be a little bit more daunting, let's say. So yeah, just seeing the facial expressions, little things, right, to keep it a little bit more human as opposed to this more sort of transactional way when it's purely audio. So definitely for all things that concern meetings or any type of group gatherings, I definitely see, obviously, I think we can all attest that this has been a great, really a great advantage.
Yeah. So some of the things we've been seeing while talking to partners, to our partners, really, we've seen a lot of things in common. So there's entire sectors that are just, until further notice, downsizing. Other people are just temporarily laying off their workers, and there's all these government grants that are helping people to try and keep their workers if they can. Other businesses are just going off to hire freelancers to get things done and not have that full-time staff. And strangely, other businesses have just exploded during this time, and we're kind of lucky, us and our partners, that we're kind of in that space where a lot of us, our businesses have exploded. With even downsizing a company for IT people is kind of it's a job, it's work.
Yeah, and as much as we are all affected, obviously our customers are very much affected. But as Jason mentioned, we're privileged enough to be in the field here where it is still an essential service. A lot of what we do can be done remotely, as we were just mentioning as well. So we were somewhat immune. Again, very thankfully, but understanding that's not the case for everybody. So we definitely do want to continue to support those that are growing. However, the reality in the sort of the current climate here is that many of them are not. So this is really something to help you to engage that conversation with them and to show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Although we don't know when the tunnel ends, but we can assure them there is light and there is a way that we can help.
Yeah, and it's not easy. For us, it happened pretty quickly. Our staff, anyways, at ShareWeb, we got to send home maybe, I don't know, maybe a week before the bulk of the other companies were sent home. Our IT team did an awesome job. It's it's hard, right, for anybody to set anyone else working from home. We're a cloud company, and still, it was a lot of work. Our IT team practically pulled it off over the course of a weekend, of getting, you know, like you're saying, 900 some odd employees like that, equipped to work from home. And I think that attests a lot to the services that we and companies, cloud companies, have to offer, right? That this was working perfectly for people in the office, but to move them from home for a lot of the things, it was just like picking up your cloud PBX IP phone and bringing it home, and that's it.
And that's it, really the beauty of the cloud, right? So we were definitely obviously taking advantage of the Microsoft suite and the offering there. So all of our solutions were already in the cloud, as many of you can imagine. So as Jason mentioned, it was for those who had physical equipment. For myself, for example, as simple as bringing a laptop home, and away I go. So Jason and myself, I know sporadically we had been working from home historically, so it wasn't too much of a shift for us. But Jason did mention there were some of our colleagues who had never worked from home previously. So for them, it was a little bit more of a shock, a little bit more of an adjustment to be had. But again, our hats off to our IT and our operations teams for having gotten us all home. And I can see one of our colleagues there enjoying the work from home life. And I was going to say with his dog, and Jason has proof on his lap that working from home definitely has its advantages as well.
Absolutely, my cat approves, anyways.
That's good. Did we
On this
rehearse
slide,
that
by
with
the
the
way,
cat? That was great.
On the slide, we're actually sharing a few pictures from some of our employees' home offices. Bottom left, we actually see two members of the IT team and an entire pallet's worth of boxes for equipment that they were shipping off to us, things that we were missing and that we needed. And the bottom right are our totally empty office, except for Marc-André, who has always diligently taking care of everything and making sure things are running smooth there.
I think that's it's a cutout of Marc-André. Actually,
It is.
it's super well done.
But I like to imagine he's in there.
Yeah, he's just there all the time.
So essentially, to summarize, businesses, obviously, they all want to get through this and stay in business. So you got to maintain your productivity. You got to keep your employees working. One thing that a lot of our partners have been doing is that they're taking this moment to train their own staff, right? So maybe business has gone down, there's less projects going on, obviously. So a lot of our partners are taking this time to upskill their own technicians, send them off to trainings, learn a new skill that's going to make you even better at your job. So we're sharing this, I guess, with you. I think it's a great idea. We've been doing the same thing internally.
Yeah, and that's it. Is don't let there be any downtime. Basically, while you do have the extra moment there, I know for years, and I'd imagine most of you are like us, there where we're just kind of running from one project or one deal to the next, and it's sort of it's never a welcomed decrease, right? But we can still take advantage, and we could still make it work for us. So yeah, so definitely training would be one. If you wanted to revamp some of your marketing, is something a lot of our other partners have been looking at as well, and sort of just maybe pivoting a little bit in their direction and their messaging as well. So this is a great chance. While again, maybe the call volumes are a little lower than they were, so this is a good way to really make the most of it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, security, right? So when we were at the office, our IT team was, there was that one router kind of thing that controlled everything coming in and out of our local network. They had full control over that. So security is always important, and they were taking care of that, from the office at the time. Now we're 900 people that are all working from home. There's 900 internet connections that are involved. So it's really, really important to keep security in mind while you're sending people working from home or just changing the way you work. This webinar today is about optimizing costs. So security is probably not where you're going to want to think of cutting to optimize your costs. Security has got to be at the forefront, especially now.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's staying secure, like definitely while you're trying to manage costs and be more efficient, and maybe you're thinking of removing some of the bells and whistles or these security measures that were in place. Definitely being mindful. This is really why we wanted to sort of touch on this sort of security sector here, is that don't cut it down till you're going to expose yourself to a potential breach that may end up costing you tenfold by the time it all comes together. So definitely want to help to manage costs, to optimize them is more the direction here, but without risking or without limiting yourselves or your productivity in any way.
Absolutely. So from the PBX point of view, I'm just going to throw out a few things to think about from a voice solution point of view that you're going to want to keep for remote workers. From a voice perspective, what we do anyways, and you definitely want something similar, we have encrypted configuration files for all of our different endpoints that are provisioned. We manage everything remotely. Every single user has their unique logins to the various portals. We use security codes to protect user info, pins for international dialing. We have call screening and barring options. And our soft switch itself has traffic trend monitoring and automatic feature deployment or security lockdowns that take place. So this is just on the communication side of things. And of course, you could come see us to discuss about Office Protect your Office, your Microsoft Office environment, Proofpoint for email security, Bitdefender for endpoint protection, and online backup, to have that backup of all your important information if, God forbid, something happens.
Yeah, and then just staying on with the VoIP part of it, on that slide there is that all these things that do have to be considered, these are all normally chargeable services, or even right up to the deployment of it. But definitely working with ShareWeb, we can take care of all that for you. So it may leave you a little bit of room to give a little break to your customer, again, just to help them get through this, get them through all this.
So
Good.
at this point, I think we're going to move to a bit more the main topic of the webinar, and it's kind of understanding your communications costs.
Yeah.
So understanding or optimizing your communications costs. You know, to optimize them, you've got to understand them. So this section is one of my favorites. This is something that I actually go through. I used to go through this every day. It's probably James now. I still go through it absolutely every week. And we're calling it comparing apples with apples, because this is something that we see a lot of people that have maybe a hard time with when you're starting off. So I'm going to take the example of someone that's got an on-prem phone system. So our partner, you might show up and you're going to be quoting them for a new phone system that's going to be able to get his staff working from home, because a lot of those on-prem systems are not work from home friendly. Sometimes what happens is they're just going to look at their phone bill. So we might make a quote that'll be, let's say, $200 per month for our Cloud PBX solution. And then they're going to go and take the phone bill from that customer and say, oh, it's just $150. How does that work? Or why is that? Or I can't sell them something that's more expensive. But that's because you're not comparing apples with apples, right? There you're comparing an apple with a pear. There's a huge difference, right? On our side, it's the entire phone system. It's the whole PBX installed, programmed with training, with free 24/7 support, with unlimited channels and lines, 50 plus features, and it just keeps going up and up and up automatically. Whereas before, what you were comparing to with that on-prem, you know, their phone bill from Verizon or Bell at $150, that was really just their PSTN connectivity. That was the phone lines or the SIP trunks that were going into their system that they bought way back when. You know, you can't forget about the thousands of dollars that they spent on that phone system at first when they got it to spend it, like thousands of dollars, and then generally again 500 to thousands of dollars for the actual installation and the maintenance that comes along with it. Because when you have something on-prem, it will eventually die. And not necessarily the whole thing, but you know, power supplies died, hardware, the hard drive died.
Servers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's normal stuff when you got an on-prem piece of equipment. The moves, the adds, the changes, the service calls to have someone come in. A lot of these on-prem systems, you can't actually do anything remotely. So even changing the time, you're paying for a technician to come over to change the time on the system. Like
Yeah.
on those old Nortel ones, it's not easy.
Oh no, that, and then even if you were, let's say you were moving offices, if you're going to move from this side of the wall to the other, well, that too, it's another service charge, right? So these are all extra costs that often when we're looking at our 150 versus 200, right, we see the difference there. But by the time you do the addition, you include what's actually there. So really, when we start to actually compare apples with apples, well, then generally we'll see, I think on this one, we had looked at it and it was somewhere around $100 is our estimate of all the services that were done prior to the monthly bill. So as Jason mentioned, the max, the maintenance, the installation and deployment, cabling if there was, so all of that, right? So it may look good at 150 here and you may think you're saving $1, but by the time everything is said and done, quite often they'll be way closer to 300 than they will to 2.
Right.
So
when the customer says, hey, you're charging me 200 and I'm just paying 150 now, it's really important to be able to put that into perspective, saying, yes, you're paying 150 now, but you spent like $15,000 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you really start doing the math, like you were saying, it was $108 by the way, if you add everything up together. You know, if you do the math of after how many years it takes before you kind of paid off all the equipment and all that, by the time you get there, your equipment is way, way, way out of warranty. It's taken years. You've probably already replaced stuff on it. So
It's
cloud's
just
a nice way to go nowadays.
Yeah, and that's it, right? And I'm sure a lot of you, obviously, for joining us, and thank you again, all of you, for taking the time. But we all kind of see the value of the cloud, and we all understand as to what it can do. It's very much the same if you're going to be buying on-prem servers or going through an Azure deployment, right? So you're going to pay for what you need. You're not going to be tasked with the maintenance and the updates and upgrades of any equipment on site. So while it may look good at first, definitely doing a little bit of diligence, just understanding the total picture, and really let's turn that pear into an apple, and then we'll be on a level field, and we'll be much more able to demonstrate our own value. Our second scenario, so this one's going to be, again, if we're looking at another hosted solution provider, so another voice service provider. So again, here, and we embellish the numbers, really we're quite on par with the industry, but we just wanted to just give an idea. So again, if we have a hosted solution that's coming in and they're at 175, whereas when we look at our quote, we're looking at 200. Again, at first glance, it's $25. How come they're cheaper? How come you're more? These are conversations that we get tasked with regularly, and they're all perfectly normal, right? This is something that, at first glance, it is $25 a month, and it's definitely something that we'd be more than happy to walk you through. So if we were to actually compare side by side, again, like Jason mentioned, our solution is full featured. There's no nickels or dimes to be paid for extra add-ons or for new inclusions or a new level in your IVR or a soft phone. These are all things that we just offer. We don't feel it's going to be beneficial to our end users or beneficial to yourselves to have to think costs before adding a service or before offering a better experience to their customers. So we want to avoid that whole conversation. Here is everything. Use it. If you do, that's great. If you don't, when you're ready, the features will be there for you. No need to go back into the pocketbook. So on this, we had done an internal a team meeting recently where we had obviously very similar objections, right? We want to support you guys, and we're very close to our team. And they had brought that to us, and they said, hey, look, if we compare this and that, and we did the exercise with them. We said, good, at month one, that's absolutely right. $25 cheaper, that's correct. What if they want to add a second level of an IVR? Okay, well, that's an easy $10 right there. Oh, they need a call queue now. Oh, well, $10, put it on the cart. And then by the time you actually get a phone system that's going to meet their needs, whether now or in a year from now, in most scenarios that our team was able to present to us, by 6 months, we were at minimum breaking even. And for everything after, quite often, we were much ahead in terms of offering the best value. So again, it's just to have a good understanding of what you're looking to offer, what you plan on offering, and making sure you have a solution that's going to get you from now till then, and really everything in between, right? So again, these nice introductory offers, and it's $10 a user. Great. Now I need my user to make phone calls. Well, now you're at $15 a user. And it adds up so quickly, maybe a little exaggerated on that one, but that's something that we kind of advise our partners to just keep an eye out, just so they know what they're competing against.
That's right. It's just so important to really be asking the right questions. And I think you really hit it on the ball. That's when a competitor is coming in and they'll say, well, I'm just at $10 per extension. You got to remember to ask, what about the IVRs and the hunt groups and the call recording and the soft phone? And if they start having a different price every time you ask a new question, that's a little scary. So we like to keep it simple, one price, all in.
Yeah, it's definitely like sort of a sign of things that come. If ever you see, like Jason said, every question gets you a new price, and let me go back to the drawing board. It can kind of give you an idea of what the relationship will be going forward, right? Whereas with us, it's here's the price, great. You want to add a user, subtract the user. There's very little that'll change apart from that in our pricing. So again, just some food for thought. I was looking for a fruit pun all week here, so there it is.
Okay, I'm ready for you. There we go. So
Yeah.
optimizing the actual communications costs. So we've been giving you a lot of hints right so far about, you know, what to look at to understand really the costs that are involved, and make sure that when you're looking at a competitor's quote, or, you know, moving them over from an on-prem to a cloud system, that you're looking at the right things. James, can you dive into that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's, as Jason mentioned, right, there's two ways. It's either you're going to rip and replace. So when moving solutions, again, it's our apples and pears. Just make sure we know, or you know, we can help you to understand what we're looking at if we're looking to make a change there. For some, though, maybe due to contract, maybe due to some larger investments already made, ripping and replacing may not be the solution for them now. So what we can do in that case is we can kind of help you to understand what they're currently paying for. Again, knowing that a lot of the workforces have shrunk or have been changed in one way, shape, or form, we want to get the most streamlined solution. So really a solution that fits what they need now, not what they were last year or in their peak season, but really what right now looks like for them to make sure their costs are as efficient. Right? The idea is either you're going to make money or limit costs. So this is one way that we're able to help, at least from a ShareWeb perspective. And something, if you're an existing customer or partner, definitely feel free to speak to us about it, as we do offer that flexibility there. So a couple of questions we suggest to look at would be to start, in this case, with your number of lines, your number of phone numbers. These are really easy conversations to have. It's how many published phone numbers do you have? How many phone numbers that are on your website or that customers actually call you on, versus how many you need. Maybe you had X amount of lines before, or maybe you were a 50 user company before, your customers were, where they had maybe 15 or 20 lines, but now they're at reduced staff. Everyone's using cell phones maybe from home. So do you really need 20 lines when only 2 or 3 calls may be ongoing at any given time? So little things that you can ask your customers, and just try and help them find areas for optimization. Again, with our solutions, we work on a very month-to-month model, so we can definitely offer that type of flexibility. Again, it's just us being consumers when we're not behind the camera here. We understand what the reality is for businesses, so what would I want? And I think it shows very much in all of our products. So yeah, so having a good grasp on the number of numbers that you have. From there, we'd be looking at the number of toll frees. Maybe you had a preset package for 10,000 minutes, but now with the call volumes, maybe your industry has been affected. So if you're only running 1,000 minutes on those toll free now, well, maybe it's time to reach out to your current vendor. Maybe you compare apples and pears and you reach out to ShareWeb, but we should definitely look to offer that value to our customers to really run with what they need. Not what they will need or what they needed, but really what's going to suit them today.
Yeah, and we're here to help you with that. So feel free to call us, reach out to your account manager. We can pretty much go through this exercise together with you, either for your own business or maybe for the business of certain customers of yours. Like James said, a lot of the advice we're giving today is very general, so it's not necessarily just for our services. We just want to help as much as we can in any way we can. So definitely the cutting down on lines for people that still have on-prem systems and things like that might be a nice way to go, because you don't need all of those analog lines. Obviously, with our service, as you probably know, with our Cloud PBX and all that, we're not selling lines. It's always unlimited lines and unlimited channels. So that's not something you have to worry about. But this is really focused on the phone numbers, I'd say.
Yeah. Excellent. The other area, again, it's just being mindful, just understanding the environment or the climate that we're in here, is to look at the number of users. Maybe historically you were, again, maybe you were a 50 user organization. Maybe business was great and it was booming and you were looking to expand. Obviously, things that the winds have shifted a touch here. So maybe you're down to 40 users now. Well, hey, you shouldn't be penalized those extra 10 users because you were penalized by losing those 10 users. So really, you should be running as efficiently as possible. So a quick audit, just, hey, ask your customer to send me an Excel with the extension numbers and the names of the users, who is in the office or who is using the solution, who is not. And just that, having that understanding, again, whether it's something that you can hopefully just request to your current provider and have that diminished, even maybe put on hold temporarily, as there are some providers that do offer that. Again, it's a ShareWeb webinar, so we do that. But little things that you should be aware of. And again, it's just, what do you need? Not what you needed, not what you will, but what is right now looking like for you? Will you need 2 more users next month that you don't need to pay for the extra 10 this month? No problem. Like, these are things that we can definitely help. Again, reach out to us. It'll almost likely end up trying to work with you to get a little bit of a quote or to get an idea of what it could look like. One can bring apples with pears. But again, it's not a sales machine we're running here today. It's really a service. It's a value-based machine. So we can just enable you to help save your customers some money. It makes you look good. You're happier with ShareWeb. That's all. That's really the main objective for myself.
Yeah. And then you look at those other phones too, right? Like the conference phones or the courtesy phones. Most of you aren't allowed in your offices right now. I don't know. Here it's starting to open up, but they're closed. So are you still paying for those conference room phones and those courtesy phones that no one can access?
Right. And
think about it.
Yeah, and it may be as small, it may be 5, it may be $10 or $15 a month, and it may not seem like much, but once you have 10 of them, well, now you're at 50, 100, 150. Well, that starts to add up when you look at over the course of a year. So yeah, so just, again, just be mindful. We just want to raise some awareness and let you know what you can do here. So definitely good conversations to have. If you're leasing a device, maybe to your current provider, maybe look at a way of returning it. So these are little things that we can do to maybe, again, just to help to manage some of the costs there. Stupendous. So yeah, so again, I think we talked a little bit about it, and if you've seen any of the other ShareWeb videos, definitely we are a value-added distributor or CSP for all things Microsoft, Veeam, Office Protect, online backup, et cetera, and definitely on the VoIP side as well. We're no exception here. So it's easy solutions. Things that we can do for you would be scoping, the quoting. As you mentioned, if it's just a phone call, just a discussion by video conferencing or by email as you see fit. You just want to bounce some ideas, get some advice on how you can maybe present it. Hey, we have a ton of ideas. Some of them are pretty good from time to time. So definitely feel free to bounce ideas off us, and we'll definitely do our best to give you at least an out or some ideas in terms of how you can help to reduce or optimize your customers' communication spend.
Absolutely.
There's yeah, okay, I'll burn for a second here, but like the one of the other ones I really wanted to touch on here is that flexible model. Again, we plugged it a few times throughout the webinar here today, but we are definitely very mindful of the environment, and we know the reality for a lot of you, for a lot of your customers has changed. Thankfully, our solution was already built in such a way that was very flexible. So it wasn't too much adjusting for us here, but definitely if ever you have a customer who's in an industry that you feel may be affected or continue to be affected, well, then definitely reach out to us. I'm sure we have a solution that we can offer to help them, again, just run more efficiently based on what they need at this time.
So today was really just to give you some hints, give you some ideas, let you know that we're here to help. So please reach out to your account manager to get a telecom audit done. And we're soon going to move to the Q&A. So this is running by smoothly, quickly. Before we do that, I do have one poll question for all of you. If you could please take the time to answer it. It should be appearing on your screen. Nope, the poll's gone.
Excellent.
Oh, no, I got it. So the question is, do you want a personalized audit of the communication costs for you or for your client? So basically, do you want to have a phone call with James to start going through the costs now, past, future that's involved for you or your services or for one of your clients, to see if there are ways to cut costs or to get something better at the same price.
And I definitely hope to connect with all of you. That being said, our account managers are great as well, so they should be able to assist. But definitely, I'm way more than open and willing to converse again, just to brainstorm, just to give some ideas, and really even look at the details of what is with you. Again, it's just we want to help. We know you're in the field here. You want to make a difference. You want to help as well. So this is just our an offer. It's always been on the table. It'll always be on the table. But we just figured while we have all of you here today with us, why not get a feel for it right away?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna pass the microphone over to Sona, who we didn't introduce here. Sona is our expert product marketing manager.
Thank you, Jason.
Who's always here to help us with these webinars and the partner toolbox, helping our partners with their own documents that they could white label and share with their partners. Sona, can you maybe pick some of the questions that got asked by our people on the webinar today?
Absolutely. Thanks. I see some questions coming. Feel free to drop more. So we'll, as said, we'll cover most of them now. In case we don't manage to cover them all, we'll get back to you after. So let's start with this one. Who is the best person to direct those kind of questions to? Account manager, or who that person will be?
I could give you James's cell phone number.
Yeah. The beauty of remote work, it never stops. But yeah, I'd suggest to always go through your account manager, just for the simple fact they have a better understanding of your style of work, your way of working, and some of the sort of hot buttons that are for you and your team. So it's always a good first step. They know I have maybe a far too open door policy, but they'll reach out to me and I'll jump on a call. I get a call scheduled, sometimes with as little as 5 minutes notice, or no notice, and I'm always happy to oblige as long as I can. So yeah, so definitely through the AM first, and then myself, even Jason, as well as a wealth of telecom experience, but definitely sort of through the AM is an ideal. If not, if we've already been in contact by any means, definitely feel free to reach right out to me. It's Jay Welburn. I think you can see my name on the screen, but Jay Welburn at ShareWeb.com. And definitely, hey, we'd love to have a little chat.
All right, thanks, James. Well, let's move on to the next one. Well, most of my clients are focused on cutting their costs and put on hold most of their IT investments. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I think I'd go back. I think we had that little slide where it was either you're going to work on refining your processes, on your productivity, maybe go into some employee training. It's a little bit of a vague question, so there's so much that can be done in this time. So from an MSP, I think those are some of the good steps. If it was an end user, it would be to look at the features and functionalities that they're using, and then start to compare apples and the proverbial pears and see if there's a better value. Maybe reaching out to your current vendor after you've done that audit, and say, hey, these are the extensions, these are the lines, these are the numbers, the common area phones that I need to remove as I'm not using them now, and hopefully they're able to give you a break there. Those would be some of the ideas I have.
And at the same time, we touched on it, but security is probably not one of those things where you want to be cutting down on costs. And if anything, sending people home definitely might mean an extra spend in security, but it's 100% worth it.
Yeah, the risk reward there is
so
yeah,
you evaluate what it is that you need, cut down on the things you don't need. I think it's safe to say that all businesses need security.
Yeah, perfect. So with ShareWeb, what's the cost to downgrade?
So to downgrade, so if ever, let's say if we're going from, I don't know if you have more context there, but let's say if we're going from 100 users to 50 users, maybe due to business demands, this is kind of the direction I guess that I'm going in now. So something like that we could do. 98% of our services are month to month. with the exception of our phone financing option. So you can scale down at any time. Again, it's just a flexibility, a scalability that we had promised, that we definitely deliver on.
So in short, it's not going to cost nothing. There we go.
That's like
It's important, right, to highlight.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Sona.
Moving to the next one. Does ShareWeb have any tools to help us train or certify our staff?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something actually I was going to speak with Jason about online after there, but so we have both. So we can go about it through a solution that we get to offer. It's called Quick Help. So it's a great training tool. So that's something that we use quite honestly internally at ShareWeb to do our continuous development for our team. It's a great way to go about it. You can edit the videos into 1 or 2 minute spurts. So it's very digestible. There's a little bit of a gamification involved as well. So you can have a company ranking, which is also pretty fun and then includes some bragging rights. So that's for the training. It's definitely something I do regularly. For the certification, we do have a Cloud PBX certification that's in the toolbox as well, that you can definitely take a look at. And that's where I was going to poke Jason, but I think we do have, we've added a few products to our portfolio since, so that's something that maybe we'll look at bolstering down the road. But yeah, definitely Quick Help is something I'd urge to really each and every one of you, even if it's for your own internal team. It's one heck of a resource. There's a ton of stuff already in there, and you can even produce and create your own content and load it in. You can assign it to your team members as well. So just a phenomenal product for that.
Yeah, we strongly believe in training at the same time, right? So we have James within pre-sales who can train our internal staff, can train you on properly scoping and quoting and what to expect when deploying a PBX. At the same time, there's the entire onboarding side of things, because when you place an order, you get a dedicated project manager, and we're really there to hold your hand and do as much of the work ourselves as possible. Anything that can be done in the cloud is taken care of by us. And during that, especially with a new partner, we will take the time to clarify those expectations, to train you, the partner, and even we can go further to give you the training that our partners would need to give to their end users. You know, things that we've accumulated over years and years and years of experience that is just basic training for a telecom deployment. Things like transferring phone calls, conference calls, setting up your voicemail. These are things that if you've never been in telecom before and if you've never installed a phone system before, I mean, they seem silly when we just say it like this, that when you're there on site, you got a million boxes and all these things to plug in. You kind of got to know what to train people on, what they expect. So we have training on so many levels. And there's always our partner toolbox, shareweb.com/toolbox, that's filled with very, very useful information. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I believe we'll take it as a last one.
Okay.
Does ShareWeb sell Teams devices, and are there any deals?
Yeah, so yeah, everything's a good deal with ShareWeb, absolutely. So we definitely sell Teams devices. So yeah, absolutely. If I was just trying to fit in the context here, but yeah, if you're working from home, presumably you're looking at using Teams for an audio or video conferencing solution. So yes, absolutely, we can definitely help you out there. We have a good little range of products there. In terms of deals, there is a Yealink promotion that we're working. So that's our team certified devices, where we can definitely offer you a little bit of a special, definitely there. So definitely just sort of reach out to either the account manager, the Jason, myself, or even Sona. We can definitely walk you through that. We also have a previous webinar, a web series that we had done called our Insight series. So that's definitely something I'd encourage you to take a look at, as well as we do have our current promotions listed there.
Absolutely.
no dollars being discussed on the webinars is sort of like a personal practice. It changes there. So
yeah, it's an awesome question, and I'm happy that it was asked. I just, like you say, maybe it's not so much part of this webinar, but yes, we have Teams certified devices made by Yealink that I love. It's awesome. It's fun. It's great for people that want UC but are still the kind of person that wants a physical desk phone, or they just need to be able to do more and have that dedicated device to handle their calls. So that's definitely something. Once again, go see your account manager. They're going to show you what we have, and they're really fun devices.
Yeah, and they're available in Cumulus. Just a promotion again is something the AMs can work with you on, but the devices themselves are available in Cumulus.
I think I'm gonna stop it here. There's still some questions that are coming in, but it's just not so much on the understanding communications costs, and I'd like to keep this on subject. So we will be answering absolutely every single question in the chat. If somebody asked a question that we haven't answered live, expect an email from us shortly with the answers to your questions. So thank you so much to everybody that joined us here today. Please reach out to your account manager if you have any questions, if you have any comments, you want to give any feedback, it's always appreciated. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Jason and Sona, definitely thank you guys so much. And yeah, for all of you listening and watching there, definitely reach out to us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.